Alright, J. Paul Geyer, PERA, contents. Contents, introduction, pumps, operation pump, pump maintenance, pump drivers, accessory record keeping, pump safety, motor and engine safety. This publication is adapted from a unified facility criteria. The United States government, which is public domain, are authorized for unlimited distribution and are not copyrighted. Introduction. This discussion covers operation maintenance pumps used in water supply treatment facilities. Also covers motor engine accessories together called pump drivers. Provide mechanical source of engineering to energy to pumps. Pumps. Velocity pumps, positive displacement pumps are two categories of pumps commonly used in water system operation. Um, Velocity pumps include centrifugal vertical turbine pumps used for the most distribution system. Positive displacement pumps, which include rotary and reciprocating pumps, are most commonly used in water treatment plants for chemical metering, pumping sludge. Detailed description pump types commonly used in water supply systems, along with applications of operation characteristics. A list of general advantages and disadvantages are discussed here. Table 1 lists the maximum capacity discharge head valves value for several general pump types. 3. Operation of pumps. Operation are all mechanical equipment, include pumps in accordance with manufacturer instructions. 3.1 General operating instruction for centrifugal pump. A quick reference for the starting and stopping centrifugal pump is provided in Table 2. Procedures may vary. Different pumps types, pump applications. Know what to expect when equipment starts. Shows the pump type, maximum capacity gallons per minute, liters per second. Maximum discharge head feet of water, kilograms squared centimeter. That gives you airflow, air for lift, centrifugal, axial flow, diffuser, mixed flow, regenerator, turbine, vertical turbine, voltal, ejector jet, progressive cavity, helical, rotary, reciprocating pump, or reciprocating displacement, diaphragm, piston, plunger, and rotary displacement. Alright, 3-2 troubleshooting centrifugal pump system. Possible causes of operating difficulties listed in Table 3. See also Table 10. Troubleshooting checklist. Vertical turbine well pumps, which are class of centrifugal pump. Cavitation problems. Cavitation is one of the most serious operational problems of centrifugal pumps. Cavitation occurs with the cavity of the bubbles or vapor from a liquid bubble capsules. Bubbles collapse against the impeller, making a sound as though there were rocks in the pump. If left uncorrected, cavitation will seriously damage the pump. 3-2 cause of cavitation condition. Typical cause of cavitation include operating pump with too great of a suction lift, the insufficient submerged suction inlet. Cavitation develops when normal pump operation conditions have been exceeded. Noise, vibration, impeller erosion, reduction in total head inefficiency were a result of cavitation. Cavitation in a centrifugal pump may be caused by the following: the impeller vane traveling high revolutions per minute, then liquid suction is restricted. Note that do not throttle the suction in the centrifugal pump. C. Required net positive suction head is equal to greater than the available net positive suction head. Specific pump speed is too high for the operating conditions. Liquid temperature is too high for the suction conditions. And alright, then it shows your preset checks and valves. The action: open the valve with the cooling liquid supply to the bearing if the bearings are liquid cooled. Open the valve with the flushing water supply with the stuffing the boxes if so equipped. Open the valve with the sealing liquid supply with the stuffing the boxes or mechanical seals if equipped. Open and close discharge valves according to the manufacturer's manual. Rotors: check the rotors, see if they're free. That is free. You should be able to turn the rotor shaft by hand. Do not start pump until any difficulty is corrected. Pump centrifugal pumps and before start with equipment, not water, one less air with the pump with the suction piping replaced in water. With water addition, rotating element may be seized. Lack of lubrication. Use one of the following methods to prime the pump depending on operation conditions: positive suction head, and negative suction head. Starting the pump: always start the pump in accordance with manufacturer's manual. Equipment area: ensure all personnel are clear of dangerous areas. Valves for pumps started with discharge valves closed. Open the valve slowly after pump approaches operating speed. Do not operate the pump with closed discharge valve. Stuffing boxes: observe the leak of the stuffing box. Adjust the sealing liquid with the valve proper flow with ensuring the packing lubrication for the new packing. Allow the pump to run 10 to 15 minutes before tightening the stuffing box gland. Gradually tighten the stuffing box gland until the leak slows to the constant drip. Pump and driver, check the general mechanical operation of pump driver and ensure that the working parts are free to move without damage. Stopping the pump, always view the instruction to disconnect and secure the drive of the rotary equipment. Valves. As a rule, check valve with the discharge glove of the pump. In such case, to shut down the pump and stopping the driver according to the manufacturer's manual. Then close all of the valve except for the check valve or the discharge suction pump, cooling, water supply, other connections lead to the pump or system. In some instances, however, use the check valve is not feasible, being sudden close with the check valve under high discharge pressure might create pressure surges or water hammer. In such cases, close with the discharge slowly to avoid water hammer. Monitoring operations. Unusual sounds. Learn to recognize normal sounds of condition and properly run pump. Listen to the sounds of the pump. The regular inspection towards investigate abnormal sounds at once. Our bearings. Check the bearing temperature and lubrication. Whether the petroleum-based lubricants are used. Valve the manufacturer's manual. Do not over lubricate. Suction and discharge reading. The readings are compared with the normal values. Normal valves. Make sure the valves are set required. Check the shaft package. Check discharge rate. Check driving equipment. That was table 2. Routine operation checklist for centrifugal pump. Pumps in positive suction head when the intake suction side of the pump is under pressure. Use the following priming sequence. Open all suction valves to allow water to ensure that the suction pipe in the pump casing. Open all vents liquid located in the highest point of the pump casing to allow the trapped air in to be released. Note that the pump is properly primed when the water flows with the all open vents of the steady stream. 2. Negative suction head. 2 priming methods are available. The negative suction head condition, that is, the pump lifts the water to the intake suction lift. Vacuum pump injection method, when steam and high pressure water compressed air is available. Priming the pump and attach the ejector with the highest point of the pump casing. Evacuating the air from the suction pump and casing. A vacuum may be substituted with above the equipment to start with the ejector of the vacuum pump to exhaust the air from the pump casing with the suction pump, with the water discharge with the ejector of the vacuum pump, the centrifugal pump, but continue priming until the centrifugal pump has reached its operating speed. Priming the pump with the foot value. Foot value is usually the lowest point out of the suction head of the foot valve with retaining the water suction pipe of the pump casing. After the pump has initially primed the pump, open the suction valve. If one is installed, open the vent valve's highest point with the pump casing. Fill the pump and the suction line with the independent water supply. Allow the fill until a steady steam flows from the vent valves. System. Pump does not deliver water. Possible cause. Pump is not prime. Pump or suction pump is not completely filled with water. Suction lifted too high. Air pocket. Suction line. Inlet. Suction pipe in position. Submerged. Suction valve not open. Partially open. Discharge valve not open. Speed too low. Wrong direction of rotation. Total head of the system higher than the design head of the pump. Parallel operation of the pump is unsuitable with existing condition. Foreign matter of the impeller. Insufficient capacity delivered pump suction pipe and completed with the water suction lift too high. System amount of air and gas in the water. Air pocket suction line. Air leaks and suction line. Air leaks from the pump with the stuffing bag. Foot valve too small. Foot valve partially clogged. Inlet suction pump insufficient. Submerged. Suction valve only partially open and discharge valve only partially open. Speed too low. Total head of the system higher with the design head of the pump. Parallel operation of the pump is unsuitable for such operation. Foreign matter in the impeller. Wear rings of the warm impeller damage. Casing gasket defective, permitting internal leakage. Insufficient pressure develop. Excessive amount of air, gas in the water. Speed too low. Wrong direction of rotation. Total head system higher than design head of the pump. Parallel operation pumps unsuitable with the existing condition of wearing rings worn and properly damaged. Casing gaskets defective, permitting internal leakage. Pump lost primary after start. Pump in suction not completely filled with water. Suction lift too high. Excessive amount of air and gas in the water. Air pocket in the suction line. Air leaks in the suction line. Air leaks in the pump through the stuffing box to the suction. Insufficient submerged water seal pipe plugged. Seal cage improperly located in the stuffing box, preventing sealing fluid for the entrance bay from the seal. Pump receives excessive power. Speed too high. Wrong direction. Rotation. Total head of the system power higher than the design head of the pump. Total head of the system lower than the pump design head. Foreign matter in the impeller. Existing condition. Misalignment. Shaft bent. Rotary part rubbing and stationary part. Wearing rings worn. Packing improperly installed with incorrect typing of packaging operation condition. Gland too tight, the result of no fluid, liquid to lubricating packing. Stuffing box leaks. Seal cage improperly located with stuffing box, preventing sealing fluid entering the space from the seal. Misalignment. Shaft bent. Shaft sheaves, shafts or shaft sleeves worn or scored to packing. packing improperly installed, incorrect type of the packing, operating conditions, shaft running off of the center because of the worn bearings, misalignment, rotor balance, result of vibration, glad too tight with an outflow of the liquid to loop packing, instead of the clearance of the bottom of stuffing backs between the staff of the casings, causing the packing to force into the pump interior, dirt or grit in sealing liquid, leading to scoring of the shaft sleeve. Packaging is has short life. Water seal pipe, plug, seal cage been properly located with the stuffing box, preventing sealing of liquid from entering space from the seal. Misalignment, shaft worn, bearing worn, shaft or shaft leaves worn, scored packaging properly installed. Incorrect type of packaging. Operation conditions, shaft running center between because of the worn bearings, misalignment, rotor out of balance, resulting in vibration, glad too tight, resulting in no fluid, liquid to lubricating packaging, failure to provide cooling liquid to water cooled stuffing box, excessive clearance of the bottom of the stuffing box between the stuff and the case and causing packing, force of the pump and interior, dirt grid, and sealed liquid leading to scoring of the shaft or shaft sleeve. Pump vibrates or is noisy. Pump suction head is not complete with the fill with water. Suction lift is too high. Foot valve with too small. Foot valve partially clogged. Injection suction line insufficient. Submerged. Operation very low capacity. Fair and mirror impeller. Misalignment. Foundations are not rigid. Shaft bent. Rotary parts. Rubbing stationary part. Rear bearings worn. Improperly damaged. Shaft running center because worn bearings misalignment. Rotor out of balance. Resulting with the vibration. Dirt and grit and sealing liquid lead the scoring with the shaft sleeve. Stuff grease or oil, anti-friction bearing housing, lack in cooling, causing excessive bearing temperature, lack of lubrication, improper insulation, anti-friction bearing damage during the assembly, incorrect assembly stack bearings, use of unmatched bearings as well as pairs dirt getting into the bearings, rusting bearings because of water getting into the housing, instead of the cooling, water cooled with the result of the condensation, bearing housing, moisture over the atmosphere. Bearing has a short life, misalignment, shaft bent, rotoring part of the rubbing stationary part, bearings worn, shaft running, center between the worn bearings and misalignment, rotor out of balance, resulting in vibration, excessive thrust caused by mechanical failure inside of the pump, by failure of hydraulic balance device, if any, excessive grease and oil, anti-friction bearing housing, lack cooling, causing excessive bearing temperature, lack of lubrication, improper installation, anti-friction bearing damage during assembly, incorrect assembly, stack bearings used on matched bearings as a pair, dirt getting into bearings, rusting bearings becomes of water getting into housing, excessive cooling, water cool, bearing resulting condensation bearing housing with the moisture of the temperature, pump overheats or seized, pumps are not primed, operation very low capacity, parallel operation, pumps unsuitable for existing condition, misalignment, rotating, rubbing part or rubbing stationary part, bearings worn, shaft running center between because of the worn bearings or misalignment, rotor balance, result in vibration excessive thrust caused by mechanical failure inside pump and failure with a hydraulic balancing device, if any, lack of lubrication. Alright, 3.3 operating instruction for the ejector jet pumps. Jet pumps are a typical type of central figure pump. Because they are relatively low efficient, they rarely use for public water system. The jet pumps can expand, but they rarely require little maintenance and maybe even well supplying a very small, low demand system. No, all operating rules and troubleshooting checks for the apply with the two central figure pumps apply with the ejector pumps. So the pump adjusts the manual back pressure valve. The correcting operation cycle is achieved. Do not change the adjustment after the pump is operating. If the pump discharge decrease, check troubleshooting guides for the central figure pump inspector. The injector nozzle throw with the deposit check for the nozzle submergence. 3.4 operating instruction for the progressive for the cavity pump, for the aggressive for the helical rotors, for the positive for the displacement pump, is not subject for the same problems with the central figure pump open, operating on according to the manufacturer instruction caution, do not run dry. Common operating problems encountered with the progressive cavity pump is possible called given in table 4. Operating instruction rotary reciprocating displacement pump pre-start with the rotary and reciprocating displacement pump do not usually require priming. However, the priming is necessary for the priming procedure for the central figure pump. 3.5.2 starting an operation. Always start and operate rotary reciprocating displacement pumps with both suction discharge valves open to prevent motor overload and pump damage. Alright, systems and possible causes. No water is derivative broken. Discharge shaft except for the discharge head. Plug submerged suction. Pump does not deliver rated capacity. Speed too low. Suction lift excessive. Suction partially plugged. Mechanical defect. Pressure is too low. Discharge head to the high. Speed too low. Pressure relief device valve set too low. Mechanical defect. Pump stops after starting operation. Bent column shaft clogged suction. 353. Operating precautions. Rotary reciprocating displacement pumps depend on the clearance efficiency, keep grit and other abrasive material out of the liquid being pumped to prevent excessive wear of the rapid loss of the efficiency self-priming ability. A pressure relief of the valve of the discharge because the active of the suction side of the pump is usually provide outlet piping adjust the valve with relief pressure, but if it does not overload the pump, make sure the check valve seat properly normal pressure, otherwise loss efficiency, priming ability result. Use manufacturer manual to develop a checklist for the particular rotary or reciprocating displacement pump being used. 4. Pump maintenance. Information contained in the following paragraphs is generally not intended for the replace maintenance procedure provided by the equipment manufacturer. Maintenance procedure with the central fecal pump. The following paragraph describes the general maintenance procedure. All types of horizontal and vertical central fecal pumps for a detailed procedure for the pilot, specifically the volate, diffuser, regenerator, the turbine, split case, multi-stage design consult with the manufacturer manuals. Lubrication. Manufacturer manuals cover lubrication frequency. The special case for the following general apply the caution: do not lubricate totally enclosed equipment. Insufficient guard equipment while it is moving to avoid establishing marking system. Make sure that the proper lubricant is used. Make sure for the same product symbol and identify with the color made. Mark on the lubricating containers, lubricating applicator lubrication, your lubricating points. Never over lubricate. Over lubricating causes the anti-friction bearing to overheat, may damage the grease seals. Over lubrication may also damage electrical motor windings. For simplified operation, provide the same type of the grease gun fitting Zerk at all points using the same type of the grease. Fewer types of the grease used, the fewer the grease guns required, the less likelihood of improper greasing being used. Table 5 provides general lubrication schedule for the centrifugal type pumps. When hand oilers are used to lubricate shaft bearings, checking the setting, daily adjusting them according to Table 6. 412 packing. Selecting packing usually done in accordance with the manufacturer recommendation. The system of the pumping water packaging types include the non-reinforced woven and braided cotton and asbestos semi-metallic plastic, a combination of the two. If you require the manufacturer assistance for the select of the packing supply with the detailed information manufacturer of the following items: description of liquid handle, including percentage, concentration, temperature, and impurities, amount of the abrasive present, staff of the box, dimension, depth of the box, outside the diameter, shaft of the sleeve, diameter, also stuffing box, pressure and temperature, shaft speed, sealing, cage, lantern, gland, location and width, shaft seal, material, and hardness. Alright, lubrication point, action required, and frequency. Anti-friction bearing, check the temperature thermometer with running hot. Your bearing is probably over lubricated and remove excessively. Lubricant monthly. Strain lubricant, fresh lubricating wells, bearings, kerosene, clean, fresh lubricant quarterly. Ball thrust bearing, and add fresh grease for the grease cups, but do not attempt to keep grease from coming out of the round. The collar seal monthly. Change grease for the grease cup if the pump operates more than 50 times a day. Otherwise, change yearly. Quarterly. Bearing housing. Check oil level on oil housing. Do not add oil pump while the pump running. Remove oil vent and plug when adding oil. That's daily. Check housing. Flush kerosene. Add clean fresh lubricant quarterly. Enclosed shaft type bearing. Check oil cup. Add lubricant as necessary weekly. Grease seal packaging. Gland grease. Check with the spring loaded grease cup refill as necessary. Adjust for the spring tension. Maintain grease discharge thorough. Packing approximately 1 ounce per day daily. And guide bearing. Add grease through the pipe fittings monthly. Sealing water system. Check packaging gland. Adjust for the packaging. Substitute water leakage is noticed all the way. Allow 60 drops per minute with the pump running it daily. Semi-annually check the stuff box for free movement of the gland. Hand oiler according to table 15 each shift. Solenoid over oiler. Check leads connected to check the needle valve clogging. Adjust the 2 to 4 drops per minute. Refill containers necessary for the daily. Sleeve bearing. Check the bearing temperature if it's not too hot or lubricate monthly. Drain lubricant and wash coils and bearings with kerosene quarterly. Universal joint coupling, lubricate coupling, split spines with a fresh grease semi-annually. Alright, pump operation schedule times per day, pump running time in minutes, oiler rate, maximum of 2 pumps operating per day, not over pump running time, not over 5 minutes, 5A, 1 drop every 15 minutes, oil rate 3 to 12, pump operation schedule times per day, not over 5 to 8, pumps 1 quart, 1 drop, 4 minutes, 12 to 50 times per day, not over 5A, 1 drop, 2 minutes to more than 50, 2 to 4 drops a minute. Pump running times in excess of 5 minutes will require increased oil ratings. 413 sealing water system. Make the daily check for the sealing water system listed in Table 5. If the leakage cannot be adjusted properly, repack the softening packs according to Table 7. Each year, the assembling of the sealing water lines valves to make sure the water patches operate. Rotary seals of the pump has seals that do not have a conventional filler or pliable. The replacing packaging consult with the manufacturer's manual. Shafts and shaft sleeves. Each year, for the pump, it is dismantled. Examine the shaft carefully with the impeller hub, the undersleeve shaft sleeves at the bearings. Shaft of the shaft may damage the result of the pitting cause of the leakage along with the shaft of the impeller and shaft sleeve. The anti-friction barriers improperly fitted from the pump shaft and race rotate for the pump shaft. Damage of the shaft except for the thermal stress corrosion may loosen the impeller on the shaft, subject to the key weight of the shock. Replace any shaft that is bent and distorted after the shaft has been replaced. Check if it's possible. Run out with a maximum allowable of 2,000ths of an inch microns shaft sleeve. Inspect shaft sleeves each year. If the subject to wear may require replacement depending on the severity of surface where the sleeve of the approach become appreciably worn. The package cannot be adjusted, preventing leakage of the sleeve should be replaced. Otherwise, except for the ground and scored sleeves will pair with the score the new packaging as soon as inserted into the stuffing box. Bearings. Inspect bearings and lubricant in accordance with the procedure described in Table 8. 416 wearing seal rings. Each year, inspect the wear and sealing rings of the seal to discharge water from suction water in the rotating pump. They are not perfect seals. Do not allow some leakage. Do not allow the leakage to become excessive because of the worn rings or pump efficiencies will be impaired. Proper wear and ring clearance is very important. Straight type wear ring, the most common type of the diametrical clearance, needs not to be less than 25 thousandths of an inch or should not be greater than 50 thousandths of an inch. An L-shaped type clearance space parallel to the shaft should be the same as straight type clearance and space right angle of the shaft that govern end plate tolerance of the bearing. For specification information, L and labyrinth type rings, consult manufacturer's manual. Alright, inspection procedure, action, and frequency. Inspection stuffing box. Ensure the stuffing box glands are moving freely with the gland bolts not oiled. Check with excessive leakage that they can be reduced. Glad adjustment found proceeding according to the steps below. Semi-annually, remove old packaging. Remove old packaging, clean box with a box and seal cage. Make sure that they're located with the opposite end, including the inlet. Use the packaging recommended with the manufacturer. Make sure for the depth of the box, filling liquid in tab. Inlet tab. Make sure for enough of the rings packing with the bottom of the box. Seal cage properly for the position. Once packaging compressed, do not try to pack the pump, renewing only the 3 to 4 rings. Let's see what, I just want to see what V is variable. Measure the depth of the sealing liquid inlet of the plus enough of the rings packing with the bottom box of the seal cage in proper position out of the once packing compressed. Do not try to pack a pump by renewing only the last 3 or 4 rings. Check packing ring per joint. Make sure that the ring joints are staggered, variable. Add new packaging. Cut packaging so that the joints are square. After the packaging around the shaft, packing should be cut off to 1/16 of an inch. Longer measured to be sure that the outside diameter of the right ring hugs the stuff boxing wall rather than sleeves. Using care cutting the rings. Except for the detail below, you have the flower gland view. Convenient, equal length space to compress each ring firmly into place. Insert for the next ring, and there's variable. Stagger the joints, make sure that their ladder ring inside of the underwater seal connection. After the last piece of the packaging has been placed, tighten the flower gland until finger tight. Woven and braided packing, dip each ring with the packing oil before adding in the stuff in the box. Woven and braided packaging does not have to be added by one ring at a time. Fill the box half full. The draw rings of the snug, taking up the packaging sleeve of the gland. Release the flower remainder of the packaging. Draw up the snug. Then back off the gland on the upper foot tight, finger tight. Plastic metal packaging, plastic metallic piping. Packaging must be compressed individually deep in each ring, and then the insert with the stuffing box. Draw up the tight with the bias split ring gland and turn to the shaft 3 times. Gloss packaging. Allow metallic jacketed rings near the box of the bottom of the box. Pushing and seal cage glands become with non-jacketed plastic rings. Will squeeze into clearance, provided that these locations as variable combustion type packaging. Follow instructions supplied with the manufacturer when using combustion type packaging. Piston lantern rings and the lantern rings used the mace should be positioned correctly. If the grease sealing is used, be sure the lantern ring is filled with the grease before remaining rings are put in place. Running in a new packaging A new packaging has run in, and that's variable start pump with the shuffling blocks gland and quite loose. Allow the pump to run 10 to 15 minutes. Variable, gradually tight with the stuffing block glad until the leakage reduced with a constant drip. The packaging is too tight, and the box undo with the friction created with the heat and glazes of the packaging may score the shaft sleeves. Packing must remain soft and pliable. Use the drip leakage and ensure the proper lubrication through the packaging box. Inspect packaging gland. Stuff the box and too much tighten with the gland. It does not help. Remove the packaging. Inspect the shaft sleeve weekly. 417 impeller. Each year remove the rotating element. Inspect thoroughly with a wear. See paragraph C 65110 dismantling procedures. Remove any deposit scaling. Check the erosion cavitation effects. Cavitation causes severe pitting and a spongy appearance of the metal. And cavitation affects severe slum change of the pump design. Use the necessary report with the matter to the supervisor. Alright, inspection action frequency 1 and 2. Anti-friction check bearing temperature. Check for the standard thermometer. Anti-friction bearing. They're running too hot. Probably have too much lubrication monthly. Check lubricant. According to table 14, lubricant changes does not prevent overheating. Disassemble the inspection bearings. If not, it appears with the wrong. Check the pump and the motor alignment quarterly. Check clearance during the quarterly lubrication. Check for the clearance. Recommended clearance 2,000 inch plus 1,000 inch for each inch of the shaft journal diameter. That's quarterly. Check bearing condition. And this is annually. Check the year of the pump, the dismantle, the check for the condition, bearings of the bearing race, replace necessary preferred method of the journal, use the mounting of the bearing with the pump shaft feet, bearing expand with the inner race, the shrink into the shaft of the bearing is heated with the oil bath electrical oven at uniform temperature, 200 to 250 degrees. When heated, it should be quickly mounted on the shaft. Alternative method uses force exerted, arbor press and hammer blows, forcing bearing on the shaft. Be sure the race is never cooked. Cocked during the operation of the bearing's position. Shaft should be pressed firmly against the shaft shoulders. Check the field gauge. Sleeve bearings. Check with the standard thermometer sleeve of the bearings are running too hot, probably with too much lubricant in the monthly. Check lubrication according with the table 14. Lubrication chamber that does not solve the overheating problem. Disassemble and inspect the bearing. If the bearing is good condition, check with the pump and the motor alignment. Quarterly check clearances. During quarter lubrication, check with the lure clearance. If the normally clearance 2,000 plus 1,000 inch for each inch of the shaft journal diameter. Make sure oil rings free. Turn with the shaft. Then replace oil rings necessary. And that's quarterly. Check bearing condition annually. Each year the pump is dismantled. Check the condition of the bearings. Bearing race. Replace necessary sleeve bearings. Usually split type. Can be easily removed. Installed rotation of the bearing is prevented by a pin in the top half of the bearing housing. Alright. Alright, types of wearing, seal rings, casing, impeller, straight type wearing ring, L-shaped wearing ring, labyrinth wearing ring. Alright, casing maintenance, 418 casing maintenance. Keep the water with cleaning with the cleaning of the rust from the dismantling with the clean pitting of the waterway with a suitable painting with a tier with a firmly with the metal. A routine program cleaning and pre-painting help prevent complete with erosion, protect the coating before replacement. Pump shutdown, extend the period of war, overall inspection. Maintenance of the following procedure apply. Shut off all of the valve, suction head, suction discharge, water seal, priming lines, drain with the pump completely, remove the vent, drain plugs. If the water has runoff, operation protects against the corrosion, sedimentation, freezing. Disconnect the switch of the motor, remove the fuse, drain the bearing of the shutdown lid to be followed by the inactive period purge of all the old grease. Otherwise, refill fresh grease. The overall, the schedule do not refill oil, grease, and respectives until the pump is reassembled. 4110 overhaul the procedure with the frequency of complete with the overhaul depending on the hours of pump operation severity with the service of condition construction material with the pump the care of the pump received during the operation of the pump. Do not operate continuously operating the pump. The inspection is not necessary unless there is definite evidence capacity with the fallen on excessively if there is indication of the trouble inside of the pump of the bearing. In general, the good practice of the dismantle of the pump, the relative of the continuous operation once a year, because of the pump design, construction varied, model to model. From one manufacturer to another, there is not specifically perceived the dismantle resembling through rules A through D, below the basic foil detail with cost manufacturer manual. A. Use extreme dismantling care of dismantling the pump to avoid damaging internal parts for convenience. Reassemble. Lay out all parts in the order that they are removed. Protect machine faces until the metal-to-metal contact corrosion. Do not move ball bearings unless absolutely necessary. When the pump is dismantled, examine the foot valve to check the valve to make sure that they are sealing function properly. C is to assemble the pump, reverse the dismantle procedure filed with the manufacturer's manual explicit. Check the pump and motor alignment for reassembly. 4.2 rotary displacement type rotary displacement pumps. There are numerous types of rotary displacement pumps, so therefore it is not possible for the detailed maintenance procedure for that all apply all the types. Each individual maintenance procedure according to the manufacturer pump, the manual is used for the procedure similar to the presented with the centrifugal type pump. Annual intervals disassembled with the pump and clean both exterior and interior. So for the clearances, check the clearance tolerance listed in the manufacturer manual. Packaging, check packaging, assembly, repack engineering, bearing and alignment, check with the bearings and alignment of the pump and the motor. Checklist items, check all items included with the checklist previously determined with the manufacturer manual listing centrifugal type pumps. 425 paint exterior for the interior for the subject of the rust with a suitable underwater paint and effective protective coating. 4.3 reciprocating displacement pump. There are three types of reciprocating plunger type, piston, diaphragm, consult with the manufacturer manual, each of them individually. Calculation for the delivery with the piston plunger pumps are every year with a decree for the percent of delivery with the volumetric displacement of the pump per pump stroke. Term slippage, excess with the slippage indicate the need for the maintenance possible repair. Volumetric displacement, pure volumetric displacement multiplying the piston plunger with the area of the length of the stroke with proper alignment with the double action pump. Discharge delivery to calculate with the percent of the delivery the comparison of the measured delivery per stroke with the computed volumetric displacement per stroke with the delivery is less than 90% of the volume displacement. Check the valve piston and packaging for the leakage. Make necessary replacement to maintain the desired efficiency. Pump inspection. Dismantle pump and inspect thoroughly with each year according to the following schedule. Remove and examine all valve seat springs with replace valve seats necessary to replace warm with the defective parts. Remove the old packaging, repack. Check for the pump and the delivery driver alignment. Check plunger and rod scoring and grooving. Check for the interior exterior surface paint the interior with a suitable underwater paint or protective coating. Paint exterior sludge pack pumps. Two types of sludge pumps reciprocating graph the cavity discussed here. Maintain centrifugal sludge pumps according to the procedure provided. Presented with the centrifugal type pumps. Modify the procedure listed and conform with the manufacturer manual. Lubricating requirements found on all sludge pumps. Consult with the manufacturer management manual. Alright, packing procedure for the reciprocating sludge pump, daily, monthly, frequently, necessary for the cleaning. Check with the site feed, oil cup, the ones provided with lubricating between the plunger and stuffing box. Add squirt oil around the plunger as necessary. Add varying intervals to replace the packaging. Note, take up to the left of the packaging gland. Remove the old packaging, cleaning cylinder, piston wall, remove the new packaging cylinder, tap each ring into place. Make sure the packing ring joints are staggered to break the packing. The run of the pump. A few minutes for the sludge line closed with the valve covers. Open and turn down with the glad nuts. No more than necessary. Keep the sludge from getting past packaging. Be sure the packaging gland nuts are tightly uniform with a chevron type. Packing is used. Make sure the nuts are holding the packaging gland only with a finger of the type with the plug, preventing ruining the packaging and scoring with the plunger. Check with the packaging gland adjust each of the week to make sure the gland is just tight enough to keep the sludge leaking through the gland. Make sure that the piston walls are not scored before operating the pump, especially after it has been starting idle. Loose head nuts in the packaging gland. 442 bearings and bearings and gear transmission reciprocating sludge pumps. Daily, once per shift, lubricate bearing of the gear transmission with a grease gun pump that runs continuously grieves more often than once a shift. Check the gear transmission each month. Keep it filled with the proper level with the proper oil. Check operate the drain and eliminate accumulated moisture. Change the oil every 3 months to prevent excessive emulsification. 443 shearing pins reciprocating sludge pump. Check for the shearing pin adjustment each week. Set the eccentric by placing the shear pin through the proper hole of the eccentric flame for the given of the required stroke. Tighten the hexagon for the eccentric ring flanges just enough to take out the spring out with the lock washers and shear pin fails. Check the solid object loaded to the lodged under the piston and clogged discharge line stock and wedge valve with where shin pin fails. Eccentric move to the natural position, prevent the damage of the pump. Remove the cover of the failure. Insert the new shear pin. 444 ball valve and reciprocating sludge pumps. Every 3 months, replace with the all valve with the worn small enough to jam valve chamber to degree with the diameter 1.5 inches with sufficient to cover the difficulty. Check with the valve chamber gap to replace with them when necessary. Eccentricity and reciprocating sludge pumps each year with the remove of the brass shim with the eccentric strap with the take for the bab of the bearing. After removing the shim to operate the pump 1 hour, check with the eccentricity to be sure that it's not running hot. 446 progressively cavity sludge pump with the following maintenance procedures: screw type sludge pumps, seals, grease seals, or even instead with the water seals. Check with the grease pressure seals daily. Bearings, lubricate with sludge pump through grease connections on the bearing housing each week. Fish flush out with the bearing each year, then refill with new grease packing glands. Check for the packing glands for leakage each week with the water seal with about with a 60 drop of leakage per minute when your pump is running. If leakage is high, tighten the two glands and run on nuts every for you to turn. Now draw the gland tight. Drift the gland, turn on the shaft by hand, and make sure that it turns freely. Well pumps, types of centrifugal pump, reciprocating piston pump, your pumps, and ejector pumps. Centrifugal well pumps, turbine well pump is most widely used. The type of the well pump used. The maintenance items listed for the centrifugal type pump. The manufacturers mainly developed the manufacturer chart of the turbine well pumps. In addition, check the following items: types of lubrication. Oil lubricated bearings. Make sure that the oil lubricators are filled each day. Check the solenoid over the proper operation. See that they are filled. Check the oil level, the side gauge, lubricator, underwater bearing. Make sure they are oil filled with the average rate of 3 to 4 drops per minute. Lubricated pump with the bearings. Type of the design. Required lubricating with a clean water daily. Make sure the pre-lubrication tank is filled with the pump in use. Water filling with the tank of the pump. To be sure the tank filling valve with the tank of the fuel. Full open the lubricating valve will allow the water to reach bearing. If the bearing is lubricated, the main pressure for check the lubricating valve after the pump is started. If the pump operates automatically, lubricating delay with the solenoid valve with wait 1 minute before check with the lubricating valve with the proper operation. Check with the operation of the solenoid valve. Check with the packaging, set with the leakage. Check with the pre-lubrication control of the pump with the safety control of the vent. Starting lubricating water with the turn down. Make sure the water flows to the bearing when the equipment is supposed to function. Check timely daily relay proper function compared with the manufacturer recommendation. Clean lubricate guides linkage. 4512 impeller adjustment every 3 months. Check with the impeller for the maximum efficiency setting. Adjust for the necessary with the on-hollow shaft motors. They adjust the nut of the type of the motor. Consult the manufacturer manual for the detail of the adjustment procedure. Impeller fitting. When the pump is pulled in inspection, note the sign of the pitting and the wear of the impellers. Cavitation pitting in the lower stage of the maybe cavitation. Sand erosion. Sand in the water erode the impellers. Sand cover the difficulty. Check with the well screen. Replay with the necessary where the erosion effects is appreciable. Repair and replace impellers that are not likely to last until the next inspection. Clearance, repair, and replace impellers is necessary to maintain closed clearance. Require pump efficiency. Manufacturer's manual regarding pump clearance and deficiency. Bowls and waterways. The pump is pulled in inspection. Inspect bowls and water passages for the pitting and wear and corrosion. Overall procedures. Frequency of centrifugal frequency of the complete overhaul depends on the hours of operation, severity of the operation in general. However, the pump with continuous operation should be pulled with the inspection overhaul annually. Perform the overhaul with the experienced supervision in standard accordance with the manufacturer's manual. Overhaul of the pump in any of the following conditions exists regardless of the scheduled frequency and the maintenance. Pump shaft does not turn freely because of the parts below the pump are binding. The pump shaft with excessive vibration and performance test shows decrease 25% of the capacity under normal head and speed conditions. Clearance of water pump pull and check the diametrical clearance of each of the bearing rings to make sure that there's 25,000, 50,000 of an inch. Allow the maximum diametrical clearance of 25,000 of an inch on oil lubricated bearings. Maximum allowable clearance of water lubricated cutlass rubber bearings is 40,000 of an inch. Shaft diameters of 1.5 inches and 70,000 of an inch for the shaft diameters 1.5 to 4 inches. Dismantling and reassemble the follow the same procedure with the centrifugal type pumps. Align check with the pump of the motor alignment each year. Painting annually when the pump of the paint all iron parts good grade with the underwater painting effects with the protective coating of the exterior of the pump. If and possible the interior parts subject to rust, apply the paint only to surfaces that are clean and dry. Do not paint with the data plate. Reciprocating well pumps. General information you have the manufacturer's manual to develop the checklist for the reciprocating well pump delivery. Make sure the pump output twice a year of the known with the number of strokes to deliver the per stroke should be at least 90% of the volumetric display from the pump. Plunger or time of the stroke and length of the pump delivery drops 50% or less when the pump delivery is between 50 and 90%. But less installed water requirements to remove the pump from the well. Check the valves and cup leathers. Before removing the pump, they can install the manufacturer's method of picking up with the foot valve with additional maintenance procedures. Overall procedures: inspect the pump jack with the wear with each year with the replace with the worn parts. Check with the pump packaging assembly. Repack if necessary. For the pump delivery satisfactory, do not overhaul with the pump parts in the well with paint the exterior and the pump if necessary. Ejector pump, centrifugal pump with the maintained centrifugal pump portion with the according with the maintenance item listed in centrifugal pumps. Your ejector assembly. Each of the direct with the utility manager remove the ejector foot valve within the screen from the well. Examine all parts of the wear, corrosion, repair, and play with the defective part. Paint the exterior of the pump. And practical paint air interior are in good grade of underwater paint in effect with the protective coating with the ANSI NSF 061. Starting well on a new well pump. Table 9 lists the startup procedure for the vertical turbine well pump. Well, the plant operator generally responsible for the performance of these startup procedures. They may be charged and overseeing with a contractor performing installation, preferably that they are familiar with the startup task. Figure 2 show the necessary water level to check up if the problem occurs. Refer to troubleshooting checklist provided in Table 10. Pump drivers 5. Pump driver that provide mechanical source of the engine pump for the driver, usually electrical motor and diesel engine. Electric motors are most commonly drive that give the most water system. The proper operation electrical motor require for the operator to be able to recognize normal sound condition, properly running motor. General investigate any change of the sound with operation conditions detected during the regular inspection. Table 11 includes list of routine operation checklist, electrical motor maintenance. As a rule, electrical shop that responsible for the routine maintenance of the electrical motor unit for the sum of the circumstance the responsible for cleaning, service and anti-friction barriers may be delegated by the operator. Gasoline and diesel engines. Gasoline and diesel engines are commonly used with emergency standby portable pod units of the operator is usually responsible for performing operating check for the Table 12 list. The items to check before, during, after starting general gasoline and diesel engine. Use the checklist, general guideline, obtain the specifically detailed manufacturer manual for each unit, perform additional service schedule and specify in the manual addition checklist. Table 12, performing following tasks. Unit readiness check. Operate all emergency stand units into the full load of the time specified with equipment. The manufacturer 1 hour each week is often recommended to ensure unit readiness. Routine maintenance operator generally responsible for the operating checklist and routine maintenance. Alright, inspection and action. Restarting inspection, well disinfection corner with 4525 pump and equipment. Check alignment of valve, piping, and system. Check for operation. Check for the leak site valve with water pump startup. Does not feed the distribution system under bacteriologically quality of the being tested and clearance received. Bearings pre-lubricate with water lubricated line shaft over the pumps with setting no more than 50 feet. Electrical connection, make sure the electrical connection are correct and terminals are tight. Instruments, make sure the instruments hooked up in accordance with the manufacturer instructions. Startup inspection, startup pump. Check it immediately after the malfunction except for the heat of the vibration. Check out vibration power input. Motor, check with the malfunction except for the height. Vibration, check with the direction of the motor. Check with the water, oil, lubrication system, instrumentation. Serve quickly. Motor comes over the operating speed. Check the final operation speed. Bearings, check with excessive heat or vibration. Post startup inspection well. Check with abrasive material, sanding pump pressure over the gas in the well. Water level to make immediate check with the water level of the record or the data in the future reference to perform pumping and recursive water level checks. Shown in figure 6 pressure test. Check for the pressure flow output, determine the corresponding pumping level in the well, and compute the field and head. Compare the pump with the curve of the supply for the manufacturer 2. Water quality after pumping 24 hours. Collect water sample for biological analysis if the ensured water is free of the disease causing organisms. Figure 2 is a typical well pumping recovery test. Alright, system causes trouble to remedy. Pump fails to start, bearing friction. Check for the tension of the nut, for the tightness. Check for the bend shaft, proper anchoring. Check oil. Pump fails to start, corrosion product, biological growth. Check particularly outstrip the pumps necessary for flush acid, chlorine, hexaphosphate. Pump fails to start, fuse burned out. Check voltage each phase of the motor terminals. Impeller locked, free pump start. Sand raise, lower impeller back, wash pump. If necessary, always check impeller adjustment, raise impeller to allow shift the stretch for the hydraulic thrust. Pump fails to start, faulty driver to disconnect pumping, check start. Starting. Pump fails to start, power not available, check for circuit breaker, fuse and starter overlay. Same pump fails to start, overlay, relay, trip, reset, trash and casing, check if necessary, pull pump and clean. Pump fails to start, low voltage check. Pump fails to start, well cave in, check pump and repair well. Pump does not deliver water, pump not prime, check for the pump, proper pump submergence, vent well, atmosphere to eliminate vacuum in the pump section. Pump does not deliver water, discharge head too high, check the closed discharge valve section. Stuck, check valves. Alright, your pump does not deliver water for the next until I tell you that pump until we get to pump receives excessive power. Pump parts failure. Check broken shaft, broken bowl, assembly lock, and loose impellers, loose column, pump joints, wrong direction of rotation. Check the switch, power leads, speed too low. Check the power supply, voltage, frequency for the bearing, friction, impeller corrosion, obstruction, suction, clog, backwash, chemical treatment to clean. Operating water level low. Check the static level to draw down. Lower pump, clean screen with decreasing pumping rate. Lower speed. Low speed, check power, supply voltage, frequency, check with the bearing, friction, impeller corrosion, obstruction. Low water level, check well vane with a check of the pump into the turbulence, vortexing eddies, check well with a screen with the sand, the rust of biological growth. Faulty instrument, check the instrument readings, pump, receive the excessive power, and that's the next impeller rub, check the adjustment, and impeller height. Wrong lubrication, check with manufacturer instruction with lubricating being used. Misalignment, check for the tight bearing, check for the pump and the casing vibration. Pumping, packaging too tight, check for the proper leakage of the provided shaft, lubrication probe, selection, wrong, check capacity rating, etc., wrong direction, rotation, check power leads, excessive speed, check power frequency and voltage, checking, gear ratio, pump excess, vibrates successfully, air engine pump, check with the over pump of the water level, the drawdown, check leaks in the well vent, bearing trouble, check with the sand in the water, check lubricant, oil, grease in the proper grade, rough operation, check disconnect motor, check the sand impeller of the bowl, and check the wear of the rotating parts. Alright, the motor. Keep the motor free of the dirt and moisture. Keep the operating space free of the article of the obstruction of the air circulation. Check the bearing for oil leakage. Unusual conditions and the unusual noise. Operation motor fails to start. Come up to speed. Normal motor bearing fails. Feels smell hot. Continuous success running. The communicator hot. Communicator back and brush. Communicator sparkling, brush to fine dust, under couplings, rubber and buffering pins, smoke chart, insulation, solders, wiring, extending armature, except humming, regular clicking, rapid knocking, chatter, brushing, vibration. And your actions check relieve these usual unconditioned report irregularities, plan superintendent for the correction by the electrical shop. Alright, pre-start checks. Motor. Check the equipment assigned by the tampering and leaf with the fire extinguisher with the extinguisher working order. Gauge. Check all fuel, oil, water level, accessory drive in accordance with the manufacturer instruction. Battery. Check for the cracks and leaks. Air breather. Make sure the breather is free of obstruction. Startup warm and checkups. Choker prime. Check for the proper operation. Engine. The stress. If there's a warm-up time and efficiency. Indicator lights. Ensure oil gauge indicator lights are working order. Other instruments. Check the armature, tachometer, fuel gauge, voltmeter, temperature gauge are working operating checks. Clutch, ensure clutch is working properly. Transmission, engine control, unusual sound, vibration, overheating, etc. Instrumentation, check all instruments regardless of registered reading. Post shutdown checks, gauges, check fuel, oil, water levels. Instruments, check indicators. Indicators should return to zero when the engine is not running hot. It's not running battery. Voltmeter battery has not run down or retained sufficient charge. Accessory belts. Check for the time of the wear. Electrical wiring. Ensure to inspect the wire integrity. No frayed, shared wires. No loose wires. Air cleaner, breather cap, loosen the obstruction in the clauses. Fuel filters. Be sure filters are not clogged with dirt. Change of the cleaning is required with required regular intervals. Engine control. Control should be moved freely. Check for binding, sticking, etc. Leakage. Look for oil, coolant leaks. Gray gear oil level. Check level. Alright, 6 accessories include belt drive, the gear drive, variable speed drive, the couplings that connect the driver and pump. 2 types of belts are the belt drive with the V belt, with the flat belt, with the maintain proper tension alignment with the belt drive, to ensure the long life of the belt, with achieve the incorrect alignment to cover the poor operation. It says belt wearing, inadequate tension, reduce the belt grip, cover the high belt load, snapping the unusual wear, keep belts and sheaves clean and free of oil, deteriorates belt, replace belts as soon as they become frayed or worn or cracked, insulating a belt. Before installing belts, replace with worn, damaged sheath. Check a line with the straight edge of the string with make sure of the necessary direction with keep the pulleys in line. Leaving the belt tension adjustment with the remove of the install of the belts using the force. Never use a screwdriver or other lever to force the belts onto the sheath. Check with the multiple belts matching sizes and length. Is not good in practice. The replace the V belt with a multiple belt assembly. Instead, replace complete set of the setting of matching belts after belts are installed. Adjust the tension. Recheck the tension for the 8 hours of operation. Check the tensioning. Check the belt tensioning each week with adjustment as required to prevent slipping except the wear on the belts. Right angle gear drive. The operation maintenance procedure for the right angle of the gear drive that should be found with the manufacturer recommendation immediately after starting with the rear angle gear drive. Remove the inspection plate. Check the proper flow of the lubricant. If there is no flow, stop the motion. Check with the mechanical defects. If no mechanical defect is found, it may be necessary to change the lubricant over the drains. Warm old lubricant. Temperature of surface condition may require change. Lubricant type to avoid detrimental effect of the possible water, oil emissions during oil refill with fresh. Recommending lubricant quarterly, about every 5 hours of operation, whichever is more frequent than the choice of lubricant depends on prevailing air temperature within the manufacturer recommendation. Operation and maintenance variable speed valves drives. Variable speed drive of the company with the water system design variable consider the manufacturer therefore control of the manufacturer manually to determine operation maintenance requirements. Items commonly in most variable speed drivers are listed below. Check normal operation, observe the drive each shift, note any of the abnormal conditions. Clean disc, remove the grease or acid water from the disc face and thorough dry. Use cleaner, serving to leave no residue. Check the speed changing mechanism. Shift drive through the entire speed range to make sure the shafts and bearings are lubricated. Disc move freely in the lateral direction of the shaft. Check the V-belt. Make sure the belt's level and true with the over one side of the ride is high with the disc striking on the shaft to cover the insufficient lubricant over the wrong lubricant. In the case of the stop of the drive, remove the V-belt. Clean the disc and the shaft thoroughly with kerosene until the disc removes freely. Check lubrication. Make sure that they apply the lubricant all 4 speeds. Lubricant fittings, grease cup fittings, read manufacturer manual with the proper lubrication. Once every 10 to 14 days. Add 2 to 3 strokes of the grease with the 4 speed with the fittings. The ending of the shifting screw variable shaft lubricating bearings. A movable disc shift drive with the one extreme speed. The other thoroughly distribute lubricant over the disc cup bearings. Every 60 days, 2 or 3 shots of the grease force feed for that. The lubricating frame bearing of the variable speed shaft. Every 60 days, add grease to the grease cup lubricating thrust bearings on the constant speed shaft. Every 60 days, add 2 to 3 strokes of grease through the force feed fittings of the motor frame bearings. Not use hard grease or grease that contains graphite. Check the reducer oil level every 3 days. Add an oil necessary drain and replace with the oil according to the manufacturer recommendation. 636. Remove unit from surface drive that is not operated for 30 days or more. Shift the unit into the minimum speed. Play for the springs and variable speed shaft with the minimum tension. Relieve the belt with excessive pressure and tension. Couplings. Use the coupling between the drive and the driving elements of the home. Any of the pieces of the equipment kit properly aligned. Braking and except for the wear of the curve of the coupling. Drive the machinery or the drive of the worn, broken couplings, burned out bearings, sprung, broken shaft, except for the worn, ruined gears, or some damage to cover the misalignment of outage of the excessive expense for the installing replacement parts. Check the alignment of the equipment before damage occurs. Check the coupling and alignment. Check the bearing and the motor. The temperature is called for the overload. Noticeable vibration, unusual noise may all be warnings of misalignment. Realignment when necessary, even straight edge thickness, gauge, or wedge. Should satisfactory operation level of 5,000 inches. Files. Remove the coupling pins. Rigidly tighten drive the equipment into the base. Slightly tighten the bolts and hold the drive into the base. To correct the horizontal vertical alignment, shim the drive with bring the coupling halves to the position so the light can be understood under the straight edge laid across the lay. Straight edge and quarter points of the circumference of holding light in back of the straight edge of the inch of accuracy. Check angular misalignment. The thickness of the feeler gauge and stellar. Insert for the same with the 4 plates to make sure for the place. Space between the coupling halves is equal to all points. If the equipment is properly aligned, coupling pins cannot be put in place easily. Use only finger pressure, not hammer pins into place. If the equipment is still misaligned, repeat procedure 642. Use lubricating procedure lubrications as recommended. 7. Record keeping. Keep equipment and maintenance record of each of the equipment that drive. Assembly method used with the prescribed local command and general records will contain an entry for the routine maintenance, lubricating, equipment checks, etc., as well as schedule overhauls, non-scheduled repair, the description work done with the name of the person doing the work with the minimum entries, sent to the pump. Condition becoming evaluated to compare with the current performance's original performance, record flow, pressure, pump speed, amperage, other test data to determine immediately following the installation is recommended. Pump safety. Specific hazards related to the operating surface pumps include the rotating equipment lifted with heavy machinery, with hand tools, working electrical devices, and fire with allow small stop machinery before it clean, oil, adjust, lock out of the controlling switchgear before any work begins. The machinery cannot be started with another person. Post a conspicuous tag on it over the control panel. Give the notice for the equipment is unable to repair should not be restarted. Also know the name of the person who looked out for the equipment. Caution: remove the guards for maintenance only when the machinery is not operational. It's an operation. Alright, 9. Motor and engine safety. Follow the safety precautions dealing with the motor and engines. In addition to other safety concerns, adjust the associated water distribution discussed in another section. Be cautious around electrical devices. Be aware of fire safety guidelines. Alright, electrical devices. No safety tool can protect the absolute against electrical shock, but even the plastic hard hats, the rubber glove, the rubber floor mats, insulated tools working around electrical equipment, insulated devices cannot guarantee protection. However, no one using these should be lulled in false sense of security. Electrical shock sensors possible. The main facility selection pump station is because of the instruments do not have the power to switch disconnect. It is important to tag such an instrument with a number of circuit breakers so that the breaker is identified quickly. After the circuit breaker has shut off with the tag and lock the breaker so the other personnel do not re-energize the circuit, which repairs are being performed. Even if the circuit is disconnected, with a good practice to check with the circuit with a voltmeter just to make sure the electrical power has been removed. Make sure switches are locked and properly tagged when the person are working on the equipment. And fully enclosed shock-proof panels, when possible, such equipment should be provided interlocks that cannot be opened when the power is on. Use extreme caution working on a transformer installation. And then it comes in the final exam, which is 15 questions. And this was your water system pumps operation and maintenance.